Hello everyone, this is your host Vaibhav. I welcome all of you to today's session of Daily Stock, in which we are going to look at the financial performance of the company, which is the favorite of millions and billions of people across the world because we have been its customers at one point or another, and I think there are not many people who have not really tasted any offerings by the McDonald's. I personally also like the burgers and other food items and the beverages options at McD, and this liking is also being seen from the investors these days. Its stock has been surging, whether you look at it from the point of view of short term, medium term, or long term. The trajectory has been higher and higher in recent weeks, recent sessions. But the question is whether it is likely to continue or we should be taking a contra view. So for that, we have to assess the information at hand. We have its recently released quarterly report. The 5th of February saw the company releasing its last quarter's earnings for the quarter ended December 31st, 2023, and using that along with its stock price performance, we can make a fair assessment of whether to trade and invest or simply to sit on the sideline. So straight away we head to its quarterly report. First, we will take a look on the highlights which are listed on the first page of this report. If we look at its revenues have grown 9% year over year, and also the company has highlighted the fact that the revenues are up 30% since 2019. And this is important because if we look at these revenues, these have fluctuated widely, and particularly after the start of COVID pandemic, when the stores of the McD's and also many other companies were shut and there were limited options of home delivery. We had seen the impact of the pandemic on the McD's revenues, and that is why the company has chosen to compare its current revenues when the effects of pandemic are no longer there on the revenues to the year when there was no pandemic, and even if we compare these two periods, we are seeing that the growth in revenue has been substantial, and even in quarter on quarter and year on year performance, the company is showing positive bias, and that is why I think investors have been willing to put in their money and bet on the further growth of the MACD in coming weeks, coming months. That is the trajectory which we are trying to determine. If we go into the details of its recently released report, the US sales are up 4.3 percentage point, and the international market segment is also showing the increase of 4.4%. The consolidated revenues are up 8 percentage point, and the system-wide sales are also up 6 percentage point. So no matter which way you look at it, and whichever the segment, it is showing growth and growth only. The consolidated operating income is up by 8 percentage point, and if we consider its EPS after factoring in all the expenses, taxes, and all these relevant items, we get these earnings per share, and this is also showing the increase. Full year performance is also commendable for the MACD. There has been increase in the annual revenues, annual net profit as well, and also its cash flow is also showing the increase with its cash and cash equivalent holding going up by substantial figures, which we will dwell on later on in the session. Now let us first consider its income statement. This is the consolidated statement of income for the quarter ended December 31st. In it, you can see that the revenue are now standing at US dollar 6.4 billion, which is 8 percentage point increase in comparison to 5.9 billion US dollar a year back. Then if we look at the operating income is also showing 8 percentage point increase. That means there has not been any savings on the operational side. The operating margin is more or less same. There has not been any efficiency gain in the said period, but the revenue is higher. That means the footfall, the online delivery, and everything in between is higher. So the more and more customers are opting for the MACD offering, and that is resulting in higher revenues and higher net income. The operating margin is quite good for the company if we see that it has been able to generate more than $2 billion of net profit on the revenues of US dollar 6.4 billion. That shows that the company is operating its stores quite remarkably and efficiently, because this is the net income margin upward of 30 percentage point. Now, if we consider its the yearly performance is also commendable, where it has shown the growth of 10 percentage point in annual terms. The net income has risen 37 percentage point because there has been gains in annual terms, and that has pushed its net income higher in comparison to the growth there is in revenues. The cash and cash equivalents have grown. That means the company is sitting on quite a good amount of cash at hand, and it can utilize that for any contingency as well as any acquisition it deems fit. Also, other investments can also be taken using these cash reserves, which are available to the MACD. The free cash flow has been quite good, with the free cash flow rising to US dollar 7.25 billion from US dollar 5.5 billion a year back. Now let us go to its share price performance and see if there are emerging opportunities for us to exploit. This is the MACD's chart using hourly time frame for its candlestick. So each candlestick is denoting the hour's performance. In today's session, since the start of the session, it has been rising, and from the price levels of 290, it is now inching higher by almost 2 percentage point. Not precisely 2 percentage point, but fairly close to that. And that shows that buyers are willing to bet on the continuity of these near-term bullish trajectory, and I feel that it is pretty much likely to cross 300. Maybe not in today's session, but this week looks like a strong possibility, and we can indeed keep looking for the opportunities to trade and invest with that possibility in mind. So any dips can be bought. We can adopt a buy on dip strategy in the MACD stock in the short term. The only thing which we need to watch out for is its immediate swing low, which is there around 285 to 290. So watch out for the price moves in near term, and if it doesn't really dip much lower, and if it shows signs of consolidating in the narrow range after initial dip, we can exploit that to initiate a new long trade and expect the MACD stock to continue to make higher highs and higher lows. So as long as it keeps making higher highs and higher lows, we can continue our position, and when it stops, we should also stop. Now coming to the medium term using the daily time frame. Here also it has been moving closer to these 300 range for the last 2 months, and in this month we had seen it dipping towards 280, but from there on it has recovered, and now it seems to be inching towards its recent swing high established in the month of January, and I feel it is pretty much likely to cross and hold above 302 in coming weeks. And keeping that possibility in mind, here also it is better for us to keep looking for the opportunity to buy. And even in this week, I'm expecting this bullish run to continue. And in that case, if you are willing to take the risk, even in current session, we can initiate a long trade with the expectation of continuation of this bullishness in the MACD stock in medium term. Now, for the longer term, the things are also on the bullish trajectory in long term as well. It has been continually making higher highs and higher lows, and only recently it has made a new swing high, which was not much higher in comparison to the prior swing highs. But any swing high which is higher than the prior swing high is dependable, and as long as it helps in keeping the trajectory intact, I think we can exploit that. So for us, this consolidation phase is likely to push the MACD stock higher, maybe towards 320 and 340 eventually. So keeping that possibility in mind, here also buy and dips looks like a good price formation to exploit. We can keep an eye on the MACD's stock, and if it corrects towards lower side, maybe 270, 260. If it does that, and after that, if it consolidates for a couple of weeks, we can indeed take our chances. But for the time being, the opportunity to invest from the long term is not really available to us at the moment. But from short term to medium term perspective, some chances can be taken while keeping the stop loss closer to the recent swing lows on those lower time frames. But from the long term perspective, I think we will have to wait. So that's my assessment looking at the current price formation of the MACD. And along with that, we also considered its recently released quarterly earnings. And both these developments are northward. We can continue to bet on the continuation of this bullishness and try to exploit that to our advantage. So that's all from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, do write to me in the feedback, and I will be more than happy to take the discussion forward. If you have found the session informative and useful for your trading and investing purpose, do like and subscribe to the channel. We have equally informative sessions by other hosts, and also I personally conduct session each day on newer companies, so you can come back and have yourself refreshed with the information on another interesting company next time around. Thank you all for joining in. See you next time. Till then,